Right now, our working title is Theoretically Speaking, right?
Okay.
Next theory, theoretically speaking. But I just want you to give us a vote.
This is awesome right now. I'm glad we're doing this right now. I'm glad we're doing this.
Yeah, picking each other's brains.
Right.
So, Next Theory Live, Next Theory Learning, and Nevertheless. So, do you like?
I already know what I like.
Speaking or NPS?
Okay, what do you like?
Theoretically speaking, I mean, that's just, there's cleverness in that. It was the first thing that you said. I mean, that already grabbed me, and you know, I'm big on podcasts, you know, so that one was the one for me right after you said it.
And the way that you guys have pivoted to podcasts, and honestly, credit to you guys. You're thinking outside the box, so I salute that.
The reason why Brett and I are so lost, it's because we don't know where to start.
So, I don't know what I'm saying.
You know what, Yanni, just keep all these things because I want to keep it. I want to release these bloopers like one day at a time. Really, action.
All right, so we just had John Herrera, of course. Okay.
Coach.
Yeah, let's do it, man. What do you guys want to talk about in theory?
Perfect.
Kind of. Where's my question going? One second. And I had another question, and then I lost it when I was talking. Shit.
If you just, sorry, cut that part.
We're not cutting that part.
Ah, no. Okay.
It's okay.
Yeah,
So funny. I guess we didn't have a waiting room for this Zoom chat.
I wore this hat for you, Brent.
I have something for you. Yeah, I saw it. I brought this shirt for you, actually.
Oh, God.
Best in the world, brother.
So I'm just gonna keep on talking just till I don't want this to be super perfect. All right, guys. So in our first episode, we're gonna let you. Stop. Okay.
Wow, culture, yeah. Pakisalo.
And then after you're like,
At that
oh my
point,
God.
diba, parang, yeah. This is how they eat in Hubei province.
Really, it never really left. So this is my son, Wano.
Hey.
Wano.
My friends, that's Vicky and Brent. Okay, so now he left.
You want that story?
Do you want to tell that story? We can edit it out.
I'll add this in as well. Bad.
If you said it bad. Actually, May, should we say that as a joke or no? Just beep out the F word.
We can actually. You're not putting this in the podcast, guys. Stop recording.
Beats. But I really feel that
I can hear Bianca. What do you want to eat tomorrow? I'm like, ooh, what are you guys going to eat tomorrow?
Yo, Bianca, take some bacon. I just want to add, actually, too, about MTV. When I went back, like, in grade 11, like, you're already on the cover of all the magazines and all that. And, yeah, like, I collected a couple of those magazines. Yeah, just a fun fact, you know?
Sorry, did we give the impression that me and Brent always knew what to ask?
Vicky, you want to do it first? You want to guess?
Kanye?
you're right.
Part of the people.
Yeah, I'm part of the people here. I am China.
We're editing this out. All right, guys, so that's it for season 1. Thank you again. My name is Victoria Herrera.
And I am, of course, Brent Javier.
And don't forget to follow us at Next Theory, at Victoria_Herrera, and at Brent Javier. This is us signing off. Shit, what is it again? You get it. Whatever. Bye.
Peace.
Hey!
What up?
I got a little excited there. What's up, guys? You're watching Theoretically Speaking Live with me, Victoria Herrera, and my co-host.
Of course, I'm Brent Javier. So thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules and tuning in. It should be a fun one. Yeah, V.
We just want to have fun. Yeah, that's pretty much what we've decided for 2021. So before we actually get into our live stream, I just want to remind you guys, if you can, follow our page here on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, follow us on YouTube. And of course, follow us on Instagram at Next Theory. And basically, Brent and I are consultants in a company called Next Theory. And what do we do, Brent? Who do we consult for? Everyone. Okay.
Well, right now we're building a roster, but so far we have a couple clients. We started about a year ago. We started off with Heineken, actually, so that was where this whole thing popped off, and then we decided, why don't we combine forces and tell our narrative of how culture should be here in the Philippines.
Awesome. Yeah. So basically, sorry, Brent, for a second, I thought I was delayed and I thought you were delayed. And then I thought oh my God, is it my internet? But anyway, guys, we're back. It's our very first live stream. So yes, just support us here. So Brent's right. Basically, we started consulting for everyone from Heineken. We work with Kumu. That's the #1 live streaming app in the country. We also work with streetwear brands that we can't mention. But yes, we work with a lot of people for the past few years, actually. But formally, when we decided to put our brains together, we're working now in a consulting firm called Next Theory. And that's basically what is behind this project called Theoretically Speaking. So Theoretically Speaking is a podcast that we decided to launch last year during our quarantine experience. And thank you for that flash. You guys see how, we're coming together with this whole production? So basically, that's our podcast. If you see it, please follow us on Spotify, Apple, or whatever you get your podcasts. So we started the podcast last year as a kind of like an experiment, Brent, but it didn't start intentionally. It was kind of like accidentally. Do you want to kind of share that story?
Yeah, basically, at least from my experience, what happened was we were trying to teach people in our company stuff that you don't learn in textbooks, and give our perspective, also just shed some light on how we want to tell our story and the narrative and how we think we can help the creative community. So from there, basically through our teaching from our own company, we basically said, hey, you know what, why don't we share this with a wider audience? Maybe people would be interested in these kind of topics. And being a creative, it's not always easy to get into. If you want to be a creative director or whatever, a graphic artist, sometimes you don't know where to start. So we just wanted to encourage people and pass on what we've learned, and just pay it forward. So it became Theoretically Speaking.
Absolutely. And then how was it though when we were actually starting it? Because it wasn't the plan for 2020 when we started last year, right? You took a trip to Canada and didn't come back for a while.
My trip was supposed to be for 2.5 weeks. And then obviously with everything that happened with the lockdown and flights getting canceled, every month I was waiting for a flight and it got canceled. So I ended up being in Canada for 6 months. And actually on this platform, this is the first time we're in the same country, talking in the same time zone. So another thing.
It's kind of crazy. Well, it was also because you were in another time zone, and shouts out to Jana. I know you're watching. Right? I'm looking at Brent's reaction too. And it's kind of interesting because you guys went there and then you didn't come back for months. And then after that, also there were some things being delayed, some clients we were supposed to work with got pushed back. Just, businesses were so unsure at the time in the Philippines. Obviously, events were canceled, so that took that out of, things we can do for brands as well. So we pivoted a lot digitally too. And then in that experience, we were also okay, let's do a podcast. But because Brent was overseas in Canada and our team was here in the Philippines, it kind of took not a lot of effort, but it took very, specific and detailed planning from our team. There were a lot of learning curves, a lot of highs and lows. That's what we're going to get into today, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and for 2021, the future, right? So it was just like such an experience that Brent and I had to go through last year. How do you lead a team remotely in the Philippines, also work together with a colleague who's on the other side of the world? So going through all these challenges while we were launching our podcast was actually a really secret team building exercise that we were doing because we bonded like no other before.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean, we had to be so agile and just on the spur of the moment adjust. Like there was a time when I was like, okay, my flight's tomorrow, so we can do everything, like all the meetings and do them in person, like in the next week, and then all of a sudden got canceled. So like adjust. Everything was just a matter of like, if one door closed, then we had to figure out how to get the next door open. Like just keep on being
We just had
versatile.
to be really innovative in coming up with solutions when it came to like our own pet project. And I think that's just really interesting and something we also wanted to share to the creatives out there who always feel like, oh, it needs to be this for us to get it done, or it needs to be that. Actually, you become more creative when there's more challenges of how to solve these problems, especially remote working or building a team or growing a team in the midst of COVID. So I think last year was our most creative, Brent, as a company.
Strategically, yes, for sure.
Strategically, I want to give a quick shout out to the people watching. Yes, I see you. See you. Okay, so I want to say hi to, of course, our team. Our team shouts out to you 4 people. Yanni, Tish, Christian, and May, first and foremost. Of course, hi to Jana, of course. We have Set watching. We have Humphrey Ann. We have Anne. We have Camille Ann. We got a lot of Anns in the house. So all you Anns out there, thank you for being here. And hey, what's up, Noel Garcia? He's watching too. So I just want to say hi and thanks for spending time with us today on a Friday night. It's our first live stream for Theoretically Speaking. And yeah, we're just going to have a chill conversation. I can get hyper and I can like calm down. So you're just going to witness all my moods as a Gemini, but y'all get used to it. Okay, so basically tonight, if you guys like this live stream, have fun, engage in our comment section, tell us what you're thinking as well. If we're discussing anything and you feel like sharing your thoughts, don't forget to type it all in the comment section. And then, obviously, I'm reading something on the side, guys. Again, don't forget to follow us at Next Theory on all our social media accounts. And, spread the love, be positive, be kind, and, if you like this, share this also with your friends. Yes.
Yeah. And then again, just to reiterate what V said, like this is a time and a platform where we want to share thoughts. So if you do have any questions or anything random that you want to ask, then you can go ahead and put it down in the comment section and we'll see if we can answer it for you or if we can spark a conversation. And yeah.
Okay. I'm like, yes, what he said. Okay. So basically, just so people know who the hell we are and why we've decided to put ourselves out here for the world to see. Like, what are these fools doing? What's their background, right? Why are they consulting? So to give you a brief background, let's start with Brent. Because he was born first. Go.
Damn. Okay. So basically, I was born in Canada, and I moved here it's like 20 years now. So if you do know me, you might have known me because probably I used to like model and stuff, but now I'm trying to like do more things behind the scenes and move into the next stage of life. So I also am a co-founder of a store called The Nines. So if you have time, also check them out on Instagram and follow us at thenines.ph or at the Nines. But other than that, I have a few other a few other things on the side, as well as this, of course, which is my newest baby, and the thing where I really get to flex my creativity and stuff behind the scenes without, trying to uplift and elevate from my perspective.
Yeah. And I think just seeing you work in the fashion industry and brand industry and marketing industry as well for the past, almost 20 years, right? So you did put in the time. You met all the right people here. I remember when I was even still in high school and you were already, or college, and then you were already in the scene, really just knowing everyone and working with everyone. So not only have you worked, in front of the camera, you've always worked behind the camera as well. And you just have all that experience. I just also want to say shouts out to Stevie and shouts out to Diane. I see you guys watching, so it's good to see you guys here in our stream. I see you. And again, shouts out to our team for all the love and validation we're getting for first live streams. Feels great, guys. I feel like I need you in my ear. So yeah, basically, when it comes to myself, I've also been working in the fashion and marketing industry maybe since I was also in college, because of my family. Here in the Philippines, my family's been working in the fashion, culture, nightlife scenes since as long as I can remember, actually, ever since I was younger. And since I was exposed to all of that, decided to join the industry too. I was just really, really inspired by all the creativity around me and seeing people manifest their ideas. And I like that, like dreaming out loud. So one of the things that I got into when I was in university was actually, and people don't know this, Brent, sorry, I just said this. People don't know this, Brent. I majored actually in journalism, and I minored in PR, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't even.
Yeah, but people think like, oh, I was just in the scene and I knew people and you had to do PR. It's like, no, dude, like I really studied it, like in school. So I had to do drafts and drafts and drafts of press releases. I'm still in touch with my communications teacher. I sent my communications teacher from Ateneo, our podcast actually, and was like, hey, sir, check this out. Right? I don't know if you really listened to it, but whatever.
V, so where did you learn more? Living it or through the textbooks?
I did both at the same time, because I was in college, and feel like it's really getting into my bio a little bit, but I'll throw it back to our conversation. But when I was in college, and because I knew my siblings and my brother, and they're all in the industry, I started to meet a lot of editors. And then when I met the editors and they asked me to model, I just needed something to do in college because I like to keep my mind busy, and I felt like being done with school at 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. I wanted more of a challenge, like something to do after and on the weekend. So I decided to pursue modeling, and that's when I learned on set how to do a campaign, how clients think when they market. So I was learning on set, listening to all this conversation around me. Like right when you're getting your hair and makeup, you can still hear them talking about how they're going to launch this. So I'd always, right. And then the next day in school, we would have a class called about advertising. So it's like, I could really see what was happening in the industry. And then I had something to compare it to with what I was learning in school and how it could be different. Yeah, but also complement each other. So I just doing that. And then I remember when I took an events class in college, I remember that's the same year I decided to do promotions for my brother John, right? And when I was doing promotions for John, we were promoting a tiny bar called Temple in Greenbelt, if you were around. That was also the very first bar I went to, like, ever when I was going out. You remember those days, Brent? And then,
of course I do.
Yeah, and then when John let me do promotions for him as a trial, coincidentally, I had an events class. So I would do my event the night before at Temple, and then the next day on Saturday, I had to go to school and also learn more things about running an event or throwing an event. So I was able to kind of like marry the two. So it's kind of cool. You had your practicum and then you can go back to school at the same time. But I learned the most of how to handle clients really when I was living in Hong Kong. I don't want to talk too much about myself because I feel like we should save it for other episodes. But long story short, guys, after university, I worked for my sister's magazine. And then it's called Status Magazine at the time. And then I also, what was I doing? For Status, I was an editor. And then I worked for a radio station. And then I came out with a book and then traveled for a bit. And then when I moved back to the Philippines, I decided to take all that learning into Next Theory. So I
And
felt
you're
a bit,
modeling as well.
yeah, I felt a
Don't
bit
forget
like me. It felt like a little off, but anyway, just throwing it back to the
No.
conversation.
It's all
I was
good.
like, "Woo." Yeah. And I think that's one of the things, right? Like I've always been mindful of like, and you're kind of like this, like we know that, okay, this is industry. And then when you step out and you're away from it, you're like, oh yeah, but that's, this is me, this is industry. Like I've been, and I think you're very much like that too. And a few of our friends understanding, okay, this is our world. And then stepping back and going back to like, okay, but this is me as a person. So for that while when we were talking, I was like, okay, but talk about like, I'm going to pull away from that.
But I mean, just quickly speaking on that, like I think that's part of the reason why Next Theory and Theoretically Speaking also happened. It's because when we were on the other side of the camera, we probably were like, oh, I could do that better. Like, just to be honest, right? Like, or that doesn't make sense. So like, this is our platform of proving it and putting those theories to the test. Like, it's not like that they were doing it wrong. It's just, there's ways to improve it. And like, there's always a formula in the Philippines, how they always do the same thing over and over. And it's just a passing of the old guard to the new guard.
Yeah, and I think also not just old guard to new guard, but even the new technologies are coming out.
Yes,
Right.
exactly, that too.
How things are being more modern and how every generation is interacting with it differently and how it either help their creation or hurt their creation, right? And some things could adapt, some things, also unfortunately didn't. But it's kind of like you see the evolution of the creative industry too.
Yeah.
And I think with our specific roles, it was more of like, and I keep saying this, and you guys and our team watching, you guys know this. I've been talking about the word sense of agency for so long. So long meaning 2 weeks, okay? But anyway, that's long for me. Okay? And back then, when we were like in front of the camera and we were working with the team, we were following directions of the masterminds on set, and the sense of agency wasn't really like us. It was, us taking directions and orders from other people and not having that, not power, but we didn't have that role yet to speak up with these creative ideas. It was only certain teams that would like to collaborate with you, especially if, you're the model. And as I think we matured in the industry, I think we were able to start saying like, oh, how about we do this? How about we try this? Like even in our own shoots. And then, the sense of agency got stronger to where it's like, hey, we want to actually, influence culture more versus like be on the receptive side of it.
Exactly.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, like I mentioned before, it's just telling our narrative. So like the way that it was shown to us, it's an evolution as well. So like the process just, I guess, gets better every time. It gets polished a little bit more, and you learn from their experiences. Like people will learn from our experiences, and hopefully at the end of it, it just becomes a better product at the end.
Awesome. I did want to do a quick commercial break to say hi to the new people watching. So Birdie, I see you. I see your comment. The host is so ganda. Knowing Birdie, he's talking about Brent. Okay, just kidding. He's going to hit me in the side. I'm going to get a message soon. I want to say shouts out to Archie Lim watching, and also shouts out to Dustin. Dustin actually is part of our team. He was able to create a lot of our flyers and materials and branding for the first season of our podcast. And shouts out to Christine too. Hi, nice to see you.
Christine is actually real quick. That's Jana's brother's wife. So Jana's brother is also probably watching as well as Jana. So thanks, fam, for tuning in. Appreciate the support. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy.
Yeah, this is a family friends viewers. This is like a house party. Like all the people we know. Shouts out to you guys. Again, if you're watching for the first time or you tuned in for the first time or you're watching this on a replay, feel free to follow us at Victoria_Herrera, at Brent Javier, and of course at Next Theory. So, moving on.
One sec. One more shout out. Shout out to Melvin, who's a graphic designer. Does a lot of stuff, cool stuff for like Bleacher Report and Foot Locker. So for graphic design, he's also one of my dudes. And just thanks for tuning in, dude.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. If you like this, share it with a friend. I sound like a blogger. Subscribe. Click the bell.
Smash
Anyway.
that button.
All right. So basically, let's talk about 2020 recap. Okay. The good. What was it about 2020 actually that was a blessing in disguise? Let's start with you.
On a personal level, or are we talking on a professional level?
Whatever you want.
Well, I mean, my highlight is that I got engaged. So
we need sound effects.
Yeah, is there like fireworks on the screen that we can get going?
We need that.
But yeah, that was big. That's not really the highlight of the year. That's like the highlight of my life. So very happy about that. And other highlights, I'm healthy. My family's healthy. So like those are things that I also don't take with small regard. Like I'm very happy that I don't think really anyone that I know was affected by COVID. Yeah, and just being able to share on this platform is also a blessing, and also learning so much at the same time. Being able to grow as a person, and yeah, there's lots. Too many things to mention. Yeah.
That's a lot. Those are awesome ones. What about like in the creative space? Like what would be some of the goods of 2020 for you?
Well, yeah, it would be more with Next Theory and the Nines. Again, the Nines, we're opening up our next store at Ayala by the Bay. Maybe this month, maybe next month. Not really sure, but we've been able to survive. It's been a tough time for retail, to be honest, right? I don't think it's a secret. So with my partners, especially Kyle, who basically is the captain for the Nines, to make sure that it's running. We're still alive and we're still growing with the store and everything. So happy about that. We also have we have a capsule collection called Rinse and Repeat. So it's talking about basically what's going on right now, and every time you fall down to get back up. So it's something that we all came together and we want to release to be able to commemorate this time, or I don't know if that's the right word, but just watch out for it. Rinse and Repeat at the Nines. Yeah, this podcast. I don't know what else to say, B. What you got?
For 2020, I think, what are good 2020 wins? Well, I think I love the fact that I got to stay home a lot. It's so minor. You're like, I'm like, I got to stay home. Wow. Yeah, basically, I think it's because I wanted. Sorry, I'm hearing an echo because I'm also live on Facebook on my phone. But I basically wanted to slow down a lot in my life because I feel like 2019, I thought I just wanted to achieve and achieve and achieve. And then once I achieved something, I wanted more and more and more. And then at some point earlier in 2020, it was just too much. And I was feeling super burnt out. And this is something I've shared in other podcasts that I've guested on. And I just honestly wanted to slow down and not like not give out so much energy, kind of like to recuperate my energy, if that makes sense. Because I was just so tired. And the year just started. It was crazy. Yeah.
It was also like a good time to like reflect too, right? You're actually given that opportunity this year to, look back and just feel all your aches and pains physically and mentally and take care of that.
Yeah, and it was just a lot of basically when I was home a lot and when I was really learning and reflecting on my life, I think it helped me remove things that I felt were just toxic or unnecessary in my life. I basically just started to eliminate more than add, and this is something actually John talked about in the podcast as well, which we'll get into in a bit. Long ass live stream before we're even talking about our podcast. And I think that for me was a big win. Just a lot of those realizations that I don't have to move through life that fast. I can kind of like, I say like a lot, I just realized it. I can step back and allow, the silence or the pauses I'm feeling and get comfortable with it. And I think a lot of people are not comfortable with taking pauses or silence, or they get angsty when that happens. They always need to be moving. And for me, learning how to be comfortable with the slower moment, not rush into trying to be productive that day, not rush into like the forced achievement, but actually surrender and let things organically manifest. I think that was a big good for me in 2020. It was really about, especially with when we were building the podcast or when we're building the team remotely, or how all businesses transition more to digital, live streams got stronger, online payments, like everything that happened last year, there's a part of me to really learn, even working with a team, and we talk about this, like trust, let go, and surrender, and just, go with the flow, right? And again, compared to 2019, where I was like more of a control freak,
Micromanaging,
because I couldn't let go. I felt like I needed to be busy, like all of that kind of, I learned to surrender. And then when mistakes happen, I wouldn't beat myself up about it, right? I'd just be like, it's fine. We're going to be fine, just delete this live stream after. Just kidding. Just delete this. If it sucks, guess what? Only 12 people are watching and we'll delete it later. So whatever, go with it, right? But moving on, like, let's talk about, for example, when it comes to the good, let's talk about our podcast lineup real quickly. So again, going back to the title of this live stream, it's called Theoretically Speaking. If this is the first time you're watching, it's based off of our company called Next Theory. It's a consulting company here in Manila, Philippines. And Theoretically Speaking is our podcast. You can follow us on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. And we're going to quickly go through our episode lineup, right? So let's start with our very first episode, which is us, right? We were talking about our lives, and we did that. We recorded that like 4 different times. And then Yanni, who's in the background controlling this production right now, she was tasked to kind of like Frankenstein it together and put everything together. And I just want to apologize to her because in hindsight, that's really hard, right?
Yeah, we were speaking at like different speeds at different times, so she had to like change and she's not like a sound technician, so we put a lot on her plate and a lot on the whole team's plate. But that's how they grew too, so I don't like regret it, and I think they've learned a lot from it. So
we definitely learned not to do that again.
Yeah.
So our biggest lesson was don't record your introduction episode 4 different times at 4 different speeds and tones and emotions, because it does not work well together, guys. It's the first thing we can say. So yes.
Let's talk about our guests a little bit.
Yeah. You want to start with the next one? Sorry, I keep moving too.
No, all good. So Gabe came on, and that was like, with all the guests too. It was just good during that exact period that we got to reach out with people that luckily we get to call friends and see how they were doing. Not just professionally, but just also in like their personal lives, how they were dealing, how their families were. So Gabe came on, So thanks again, Gabe, for gracing us. And that was a nice homie talk. So like it was fun because I learned a lot about your relationship with him that I didn't know. So
How you introduced him to his wife.
yeah, all those little things, those little details, that's what made it fun for me. Because, obviously he's a basketball player and we had to touch on that, but it's those other details that really made the conversation for me and all conversations.
And what was like the most impactful or memorable thing for you for that episode?
For Gabe, just it's more on family and like just how much of a family man he is, how he puts God first and family, and then after is the other stuff, which you would think maybe, not that you would think that it'd have a priority over basketball would have a priority over God and family, but just having him say it and talking about his growing up in the States and that whole lifestyle, that's also interesting to know about his past.
Yeah, and to echo what you said, it was a lot of like how his personal life had a really good and awesome foundation for how he's so excellent, in the courts playing for PBA or Gilas, right? And understanding and breaking down, okay, what makes greatness? And seeing Gabe perform at a level of excellence, obviously, and breaking that down and going behind the scenes and seeing how does this person think, how does this person feel, how does this person react to things, how does he train, how does he, even look at the world. And I think when you talk to someone like Gabe, he's just such a kind person. Like that was my biggest takeaway. Like there's so much kindness in how he spoke about people, how he spoke about things. And I think, like what you said, it was really rooted on his relationship with God, his spiritual life, right? And I think that was such a great episode to kick off the season because, a lot of people might have gotten into the podcast thinking we're only going to talk about cool culture or that sort of thing. And we actually dove deep and got to know more, more soul conversations with our guests, really going beyond the mask and really understanding, wait, who are they? And, what they've achieved is a manifestation of how they are, how they're being. And Gabe was just such a good example in his different stories and how he was just sharing and also his humility. Oh my God, he is so humble and so kind. He was like recording it in like a closet or something? Where was he when he was recording it?
His shoe closet or his kids' study space because at the time, school wasn't happening for his kids.
Yeah, I just remember that.
But,
he was just so humble and open to just talk to us and catch up online.
Ever since, Gabe has always been one of the most down to earth people I've ever met, and it's just amazing that you get that from someone that's, former captain of Gilas, like PBA legend, but just a dude, like super cool. Talk about shoes, talk about fashion, talk about whatever. Like it's Gabe.
Yeah. And okay, so I just realized that it's like 9:38, so we're going to try to get through all of our guests a little bit quicker. So after Gabe, the second person we guested, the second episode that came out was on our friend Feb Bank. So how would you describe this episode?
Feb Bank, he's
energetic,
very charismatic guy, like nonstop energy. And that's what we love about him.
Yeah.
Also such a positive guy.
Yeah.
He has a lot of talent and just a lot of potential. And I feel like it was just talking with one of my friends back home. Like that's the kind of conversation that we had with him. It was just like hitting up a guy that you haven't talked to for like 10 years and just picking up right where you left off.
Yeah, and I think if you guys don't know, Feb is a musician. He's an artist. He's a rapper here in the Philippines. He just released 2 albums last year. One we helped him out with. And it was just really nice to kind of see his perspective from an artist, from someone in the music industry. And not just that, someone who has traveled and lived in different countries and have done music in other countries, and how it is to do music also when he moved here. And just the integration of all those experiences with the art he's coming out with. So yeah, you can also follow FebBank. Guys, don't forget to follow all our guests. They're all on Instagram. Majority of them are public. There's a few out there who I know are on private, but majority of them are there. And if you also can check out Feb on Spotify, because that's where all his music is. I say a lot. I gotta chill. So going to our next guest. Going back to Feb also, what I loved about his episode was he's a great storyteller. Like, he knows how to break down stories. He knows how to get people excited, how to get people to like wait for like, the hook or something. And I think that's what's really interesting about him. He knows how to pull people in, right? And that's how he also is as a performer. So when he gets on stage, he knows how to own the stage. He knows how to, when he talks in the mic, he knows how to he knows how to grab people's attention and reel them in. And I think that's one of the things I learned from him, right? Like, how he was so energetically storytelling. It was so hard to edit that episode, right? It was so hard in like the editing room what to cut out, because he had so many good quotable quotes. What do you think?
His charisma is undeniable. Also, like, I got to figure out that he's also very strategic. So like very advanced in the way he thinks behind the scenes. It's not like he just does it for no reason. Even his social media, like, he takes a lot of pride in it, and like he plans it out. So it's very interesting to know the man behind the music.
Yeah, and as an artist, right, he's very intentional about what he puts out into the world. And I think some people think, they'll look at music or they'll look at the industry, or they think that, this is just about hype, or it's just about the glamour, but he's very intentional in messages he puts out, how it's related to his art, even the imagery, even how it's cut and edited. There's a story behind everything. Like, even when he released everything from iVirus to Bank, like, he's very intentional of how the images look of what's coming out. And I think it's just great to learn if you're an artist coming out with work and releasing that work into the world. That's a good episode to check out. I recommend that. Moving on to our next guest, we have
Sarah.
Oh, I thought it was going to pop up. My bad. We have Sarah Meyer. I saw it already. I thought it was going to pop up. So Sarah Meyer, legend.
Colleague of both of us.
Colleague, legend, mentor. What can you say about that interview? That was dope.
Yeah, I mean, I learned a lot from there. Like, I don't know a lot about like trauma and the stuff that she was talking about, but Sarah and storytelling, and Sarah just talking is like, she speaks so well. She's such a great storyteller that she could tell me anything and I probably would just be like in awe. But more than that, there were such great messages behind her storytelling. And just catching up with Sarah again. It's always a good time. Obviously, from the time when we worked together on Armada, she's moved to the US from New York to now in San Francisco. So just catching up. Sarah is also like one of my favorite people. So always a good time.
For those of you who don't know, Sarah Meyer, she not only has known me and Brent for almost forever. She used to be a former MTV VJ. She was my co-host in a radio show. I also launched the book that I was talking about earlier with her. We produced that together. Yeah, and then she also editor-in-chief of Metro Magazine. Yeah.
Yeah.
What else? So much. Yeah, so much.
Mentor. She's a mentor. I would say she's definitely both of our mentors. And she just has the best things to say. Like, her messages, like, they really hit you. That's what I love about Sarah. She also like tells you straight to your face. She won't she'll tell you when you're dropping the ball. She'll, in the right way. She does things in the right way.
Yeah, with good intentions. Intention seems to be the word of this live stream. Quick shout out before we go to the next guest. I want to say hi to Karina, who I also just saw today. She's also with Kumu, so shouts out. We're going to work on getting this on Kumu soon once we fix all our accounts and sync them. I also want to say hi to Julius Caesar and Udell. So, hi guys. Thank you for watching us. That gives us 17 people watching. I think, and yes, so thank you. This is pretty good. I feel really good about myself.
Is that Julius?
I think so.
Okay.
Julius, I think that's you.
So we have another graphic designer.
Yeah.
What up, Julius? Is that Julius? I don't know.
All good. Well, Julius, welcome to our stream. All right, so next up we have, who do we have? Who's next that we interviewed? We have Rob. You want to talk about Rob, Brent? You could take this.
Yeah, of course. So Rob is my cousin. He's basically my kuya. I didn't have an older brother, but if anyone would be it would be my cousin Rob. He used to pick me up from school. It's weird asking professional stuff from your cousin, or I don't know if that was just me, but he worked in Hypebeast, and he also worked in HR, a very wide range of professions and experiences that he went through. And I was sometimes shy to ask him. So this time I had the platform. So we had Next Theory, theoretically speaking, and I was able to ask the questions that were always lingering on my mind. And yeah, it's my cousin, my older brother, so it was super fun to catch up. And he's also working for a new company which is using AI technology for fashion. So very cool, interesting topic to talk about, being someone that's interested in fashion.
And what do you feel one of your biggest takeaways from that episode?
Just the way he approaches things. He said it himself in the podcast that he has such discipline by waking up at 4 a.m., making sure he works out. We had to coordinate when we were doing the podcast. He did it an extra level. So when he was editor for Hypebeast, Hypebeast is based in Hong Kong, obviously. So he had to manage a team, basically 12 hours difference. So he'd have to wake up at ungodly hours and just do what he had to do as a professional. And just kudos to that. And yeah, his new venture with the AI tech, very cool.
Yeah. And one of the things that we learned from him was to implement stand-up meetings with our team.
Actually, yeah.
Which was one of the best. And for those of you who don't know what a stand-up meeting is, it's basically when we come together as a company. And we do this twice a week now. We're going to see if we can amp it up or amp it down, depends, right? But in terms of what we've learned, we talk about our mental health. We have quick company updates, what's on our plate, what fires we need to put out, and that sort of thing. And it's a quick 30-minute meeting, but it's just help us, I think, really just check in with each other to see how you're really doing, right?
And super useful. I suggest it. If you guys are looking for something to bring your team together, try it out.
Yeah. It was a level of openness, another level of openness we were applying just to have better team communication. And it honestly, I learned so much about every member of our team as we were going through a pandemic and, quarantine. And, it was really interesting to see how every person thinks, feels, and acts week after week ever since we started applying that, right? So that's Rob. So again, if you guys are tuning in for the first time, we're talking about our guests who are on our podcast. And our podcast is called Theoretically Speaking. And you can listen to our podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you like to listen to the podcast. Okay, ready? If you guys have any questions, hit us up in the comments. I'm seeing who's watching. I see Yuan. I hope that's correct. I see Udell. Yeah, again, I said hi to Julius. Shout out to all my Kumu family. I love you. And thanks for watching tonight. And yeah, moving on to our next guest. Derek. There you go. So the next guest is my brother, John. So this
From my
was-
kuya to yours.
Yeah, from your kuya to my real kuya. So John is who I mentioned earlier in our live stream, who I threw parties for. And John used to be a DJ in his 20s. He can still DJ, but back then he was like all up in the scene. He was like Mr. like everywhere, right? And he had a, what do you call it, like residency in a few clubs here. And I just wanted to throw events, so I worked for my brother. So guys, sometimes your internship is your family, I'm just saying. And yeah, with this specific live stream, with this specific episode, it was really interesting because I was able to talk to my brother in a way that took us back to the time where he was building all these things like Status Magazine, or we had a store called Trilogy back in the day, or how he was when he was working in, you know, the nightlife scene. And I think what's really interesting about my brother's journey is how he is such a good visualizer. Like John is really good at stretching his imagination and visualizing new possibilities, especially in a world that tells you it's not possible, right? There's a lot of people who tell you what you can't do, which is crazy, but they've never tried it. And there's so many people limiting themselves in a box when they can actually think bigger. And a true testament to John is really how he always challenges what people say is normal. He'll think outside the mold and think of new possibilities. And that's always been John ever since I was younger. Just he always thought of new ways of doing things. And he talks about that in the podcast. He talks about writing things down, visualization. He talks about a lot about energy. Yeah, vision boards, energy. It wasn't a typical conversation where you think, okay, he was in nightlife, he was with this, like, okay. It kind of was his thought process on how he got people to attend his events, on how he did marketing back in the day when there was no social media, actually, and how John was really great at word of mouth, right? Word of mouth marketing. Word of mouth marketing. And just learning that from him, like marketing and really making something hot before social media. Not using social media to make something popular, but really putting ideas together to make a concept just hot. And a lot of it was, in my experience, a lot of it was just me shadowing him and seeing how he put things together. But when he broke it down in the podcast, it was really about how he visualized a lot of things and seeing that moving picture. So I thought that was super cool. So if you guys have time, check it out. For the sake of time also, I just want to move on to the next person. So we interviewed Mark Arsenal. So Mark is a founder of Illis clothing brand. He also works with John. Brent, what were some of your takeaways from this?
Just how he was able to make it as a Filipino, like how he said do the grind first. So like his path was working in an agency first before popping off and doing his own thing, which was cool. But he also, I liked a lot of the brands that he's worked with and the kind of respect that he has globally, like from working with Nike and helping them start NSW, the campaign for that, and just his passion for cars and how it extends to toys and collectibles. Just his life is just an interesting case study itself, like on creative culture and making it abroad as a Filipino.
Yeah, what Brent said, I think one of the cool things about Mark too was how he talks about the element of like play. And that's our title too, about how he went back to just having fun and playing and having that sense of joy when he creates. And he did say, you know, sometimes when it's so, what's the word? like when it becomes too big, sometimes so many layers are in place where you can't go back and enjoy the thing that brought you there in the first place. Basically, so many things come into play. The bigger it is, that it pulls you farther from what you started, like the creative process. So
The joy. of
the
it.
joy, right? Because you get kind of caught up in like the corporate structure, that sort of thing. So it's really interesting hearing his perspectives as a creator, someone who lived overseas as a Filipino, starting his brand in another country. I thought that was super cool. I hope to work with him. I think we want to get him back also. We want to collaborate with him in another level this year. We did talk about it for a little bit on the podcast too. So we can't wait to see Mark again. Very quickly, guys, if I change location very quickly, it's because my battery's dying. I might have to charge my laptop, but you know what? You'll forgive me. It's a live stream. Shouts out to everyone watching. And moving on to the next guest, we have Raul. So Brent, do you want to say some stuff about Raul?
Yeah. Well, Raul and his wife and his whole family, they're like such also down to earth people. That's actually like a common thread among all of our guests. But Raul is one of the co-founders for Titan, and I think his designation right now is like special projects, if not more. But for me, he's like someone that I look up to on different levels, just like what he's been able to achieve in work with family as well. So we had him on right after, if I'm not mistaken, they released the first Titan LeBron shoe, which was big. And like even after that, they've done even more great stuff. But hopefully we can have Raul and a lot of the other guests come back for a panel maybe, and maybe he can discuss that. But yeah, Uli's just one of those guys that I can't say for what exactly, but just someone that I look up to as he's like an idol, you know. Like he's just one of those guys. I respect him. I don't think he has intention with everything that he does, and it's just something that you admire. And he's been that person for me to look up to, and I'm just glad to be friends with him and have a talk with him.
Yeah, and he's just such a down-to-earth guy. And we've known him since the times he was about to launch Titan, which is super cool, which I'm wearing. Buy the merch, guys, buy the merch. I'm not selling it, but yes, buy the merch. We just super support Titan and everyone over there. And moving on to our next guest that we also discussed in our podcast, we have Mong Alcaraz. That was so dope. What do you think about this specific episode?
If I had to put it down in one word, it was just fun.
Yeah, Mong's a funny guy.
He's a fun dude. So yeah, Mong's just he's that guy that if you want to know what's up in the world of fashion or whatever, he has all the answers, and he's just a great guy to talk with and get along with. Super easy to get along with.
Yeah, it was like a 3-hour talk that we had to edit down into an hour or something, but it was just because it felt like we were really just catching up with someone about the good old days and how things change. But we were just like hanging out. It was so cool.
It was a hangout.
And it was a hangout that we just decided to put on a podcast. So that was pretty cool. Next up, we have Amanda. So Amanda is one of my mentors too. I used to work for her when I lived in Singapore. So a few years ago, I lived in Singapore for about 2.5 years. And I mentored and worked under her for her streetwear brand at the time. And what was cool really about Amanda is seeing her journey as a creative, working with a partner, and then leaving the brand, leaving that life behind and restarting her life. And it was kind of really cool because in some way it was like she's rebranding herself and what she wants to do in this lifetime with, this identity of hers. So it was just super cool getting to talk to Amanda, how she story tells, how clear she is with the picture in her life. Yeah, really just what she is, what she's all about. And just the perspective of learning from her when I was living in Singapore. I thought that was super cool. Sorry, I'm babbling on super fast. How about you, Brent?
Well, this is the first time I got to meet Amanda, and I can see why you said all those nice things about her. She's very cool. And whenever we get out of this lockdown, when we go to Singapore, we're gonna go grab a beer at that place that she mentioned. So it was very interesting too with her healing, and just it was good to meet her.
Okay, I need to quickly charge. Sorry, I did not plan this. Brent, I need you to take the floor for a while.
All right. So, before we get to Eric, we'll see if we'll let V get back and charge her phone, her laptop. Sorry, but does anyone have any questions they want to ask or anything? The floor is yours. So this is actually this is also our first time doing this, and now V is on the other side of the screen. So
It's fine.
Switch back again. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's fine. My setup changed. You know why? Because I was using a ring light for the first time, and now I'm just using a regular lamp. But it was just I was trying to test that out. And guys, I just didn't know, and I'm just gonna be really real. I didn't know that ring lights drain so much battery. So it happened really fast, but whatever, I'm still here. But now that I'm not panicking and I feel like I need to end this at 10 p.m., moving on to Eric. So I got to know Eric when I used to live in Hong Kong, actually. And that was another chapter of my life. And I lived there also for 2.5 years. And honestly, I was just going out and trying to meet people. And when you're new in another city where no one really knows you or your family, you make more of an effort to meet people. That's what I learned. When I was living overseas, I wasn't like, oh, whatever. I actually made an effort to go out and network and spend time with them and hit them up for coffee. And just really, I was just more open-minded about who I would meet. And I would go to one event, meet someone, and they would invite me to another thing, and I'd meet someone else and another person. And I started to understand the lay of the land and how everyone kind of knew each other, how they were connected, what the different camps in every city are, meaning okay, this crew, they run with this person, this crew, they work for that company, this crew, they're with that restaurant. And as I was going from restaurant to restaurant, one of the restaurants that opened in Hong Kong at the time was Chino, and everyone was talking about it. Everyone was posting it. And when I showed up, I actually didn't know the chef was Filipino. It was Eric, and he was so nice, and I met his girlfriend Tracy, so shouts out to you guys. And it was just so nice seeing, and I know it's so cliche, but when you meet another Filipino in another country, you're like, oh my God, I'm Filipino too. So we had that moment of oh my God, you're Filipino, I'm Filipino, right? And I think I met him in a bar. I think it was Rax. And we had a mutual friend that I met at an event, and he was like, oh, you guys should meet. You're both Filipino. So that's how the conversation started. And then fast forward to a few years later, they tell me they're going to open a restaurant in Manila. And it was the same time I was moving back, right? So it was so coincidental that we kind of moved over to Manila at the same phase, or at least within a year apart. And just seeing okay, he opened Chino here, but before Chino, where did he work, right? And he talks about that story, being a chef in the States and eventually working for Nobu, and how that got him to Asia, and then what brought him to Manila. So he breaks down that story. And I remember when we interviewed him, it was right when the city of BGC was starting to wake up, and not everyone was on total lockdown anymore, and slowly restaurants were opening, even at a small capacity. And he was actually at his restaurant when we were interviewing him, but he was sitting outside. He had the computer outside, so you could hear all these background sounds, but whatever. It was the rawness of it that we loved. And yeah, it was so fun. It was so chill, that convo. Yeah. May says Chris is here. Feb Bank. Shouts out to Feb Bank. We just talked about you. I plugged your album, by the way. I told them to check you out on Spotify. So what's up, Feb? Thanks for tuning in, and we hope to guest you again and see where our next 2021 conversations can be. Guys, a lot of people journeyed this 2020, like all the journeys that we went through. Yeah. Life was like not testing us, but like growing us, you know? It was just super interesting. And Feb's one of those people, like when you talk about it, it's real. It's real talk. It's not sugar-coated. So that's what I loved. And then moving on, I also want to say hi to Rio, who's also watching us on Facebook. And yeah, and then also saying hi to Steven, Clyde. Shouts out to you. Thank you also for checking out and watching. And if you guys like this stream, don't forget to share it. And also follow us at Next Theory, at Victoria_Herrera, and at Brent Javier. All right. So moving on to our last guest. In our lineup that we interviewed, we had DJ Verman. So how was that interview for you, Brent?
I gotta be honest. The first thing that sticks out in my head is how close he is with your whole family, and like how that whole relationship is intertwined. He's pretty much like one of your brothers, if I'm not mistaken. And
yeah,
you know, of course, the success that he's garnered with Far East, and you know, creating his own label and all the stuff that he's planning in the future. If you listen to the podcast, you know, some of the things that are going to play out or that they've envisioned. So it's just aiming big, aiming globally, and you know, just like your brother, not having limits, you know.
Yeah.
Being able to just, you know, I'm gonna do this, and yeah.
Yeah, and with V, it was a lot of like, what's it? With Verman, it was a lot of like, he just loved DJing, right? He didn't know that he would end up being in like Far East Movement and in this big, you know, have a big, massive hit on radio globally. And I think what was cool, he was really just like, yeah, sure, I'll help you. Yeah, cool, I can do that. Yeah, cool, I want to DJ. And how he met people along the way and how relationships are. Like, oh yeah, he met this person at an event and he decided to DJ because he was throwing a party, someone helped him out. But in return, he had to help out that person to DJ for, you know, this tiny group that was just starting that ended up becoming Far East Movement, how that all came so naturally. But he just kind of followed. And what I learned was he like followed his joy. He just wanted to play music. He wanted to be a DJ. He wanted to have fun. And that kind of led him from one life chapter to the next and traveling all around the world. And it was so nice. And his vibe was just so nice. And it was so humble and kind and really just easygoing also. It was really
real.
Yeah, really it was real. It was a very interesting interview because he talks about, even, for example, in his career, like people he met and he was like, I should have got their card, right? Like I should have got their business card, because they ended up being like major artists around the world. And it's interesting how he was telling us, like, take relationships, value relationships, take them seriously. Don't just write them off because you're like, oh, who are they, right? Like, it's always good to keep those connections and everyone you meet and kind of get to know them. So that's it, guys, in terms of our season 1 lineup. And yeah, so again, don't forget to comment if you have any questions. Hi to Steven again, who said hi to everyone at Next Theory. Hi also to Patricia, who's watching us. So we basically recapped our season 1 of our podcast, which was a mouthful, to be honest, which took longer than I thought. But there you go.
I'm gonna shout out. We have our first, I think, international guest in the room. So my homie Glenn is watching in Canada, and he's a DJ as well. So thanks for watching, bro. Talk soon.
Hello in Canada. So this is around the time we had to record the podcast. It would be super late at night here or super early in the morning there. or we would wake up in the morning and then it would be evening for you. So we always had to like Google Calendar was our life. We were like waiting for those alerts and already blocking out dates so we wouldn't forget. And then with our interviewee, we also had to block out time with them. So there's a lot of things going on that I thought was like a lot of coordination, a lot of planning.
Easier said than done, but somehow we managed, and I think I'm grateful for that. We have a lot to look forward to, and if we didn't mention it before, so season 2 is in the works, and we're looking into getting into video. So this is also us testing out the system. So if you have any feedback for that, if you have any advice or any tips for video or audio, send it our way, because we're always open to improving and being better.
And speaking of what Brent said, we're going to have some real talk. I was like, wait, we need to go through what we could have done better. The bad and the ugly, right? So the bad, just real talk. I think, not bad, but one of the things we really had to learn was, because my bad in my life and personally is I have a tendency to like be so hard on myself when things don't work out and micromanage, right? And I've been really learning the past year how to let go and trust and that sort of thing. Like be there, but then really let go. So that side of myself, like the bad, I was kind of able to kind of like remove that and erase that. And I had to do that in this podcast. Like while we were creating this, I had to just remember, like I left the group chat because I found myself too controlling. I was like, I need to be out of this so I don't see it. So I don't always comment, right? So I was like, okay, I need to stop doing that shit. And then after that, I was like, okay, that's too much of a perfectionist quality. Like, I don't want that for the rest of my life. So getting rid of all of that was like one of the things. And embracing progress versus like our podcast needs to be perfect. That's one of the things for the bad. But which became good. I'm just saying, it's how you look at it. But anyway, back to you, Brent.
Well, I mean, for the bad, I'll look at it in a different way and like acknowledge the stuff that was bad, but I'll still take it as good because I think we learned a lot from the mistakes and stuff. So I feel like everything at the end of the day just makes us grow and makes us better. So everything that you go through life that is hard only makes you stronger. I know that's very cliche, but it's really true. So keep on bringing what you got because we're just going to get better for it.
Yeah, for sure. And what would you say, we're going the ugly, right? But like looking at our notes, it was kind of like, what else do you think we could have done better? Or what was like crazy not working?
Crazy not working. Well, again, it's just something that made us grow, but we're a small team, right? So like we're spread thinly doing a lot of things, and at times it was hard. At times we probably bit off more than we could chew, but it made us know that it wasn't right for us at the time. So
yes,
it was ugly, the realization that you're not as good as you are, but if you're open to learning and having a mindset of growing and leveling up, then nothing's perfect. Like you said, very few times will you have such a smooth transaction or process. There's a lot of bumps along the road. It's just being able to stay on that path and accomplish the vision at the end. Just keep that vision and enjoy the process, right? That's what they say.
Yeah. And how you get there could change. Like you think the roadmap is like one way, but then the road could change. It has so many zigs and zags, guys. It's like but are you going to give up on the journey? Are you going to be like, oh, I'm going to stop? Or are you going to keep going down that road? And that's how it felt like. That's how it felt like during the podcast. There were so many times where we're like, I'm tired. Or like, I would look at the team and I could see the team working so hard. So I was like, oh my God, like we're all super growing and getting out of our comfort zones, right? And it was so cool to see all of that manifest, because upon every new episode, you see how every single member of our team really learned, they leveled up. It was also them, really growing. And again, it was like a team building exercise. We got to really work together, see each other's strengths, weaknesses, how does it complement each other? Being honest, what support do you need, right? Not being so proud and be like, I don't need help, I got this, but actually saying, oh my God, we need help here. And then brainstorming, what can we do together to make this work? And the clock's ticking and you're supposed to release your podcast in like 5 minutes, like things like that, things that are coming together. And yeah, and also I think one of the things that was hard was communication. And I'm not saying like it's hard to talk. I mean, there's challenges in some communication, but building team communication all remotely was so hard for me because we couldn't meet up in person. We couldn't, and our ideation was all online. And when I say communication, sometimes guys, bad internet is bad internet. Even if they want to be there, they can't.
I was going to say that.
Yeah.
The internet was ugly sometimes.
The internet, I think the thing that won for ugly was like our internet plans. Some got better, but some were like got better when they felt like it. It was just insane. Like that was pretty ugly. And then, so yeah, that's basically it for the good, the bad, the ugly. So let's talk about, it's so deep. I'm seeing some of the guide questions. It's like, what are the shadows or patterns that showed up for you? I was like, oh my God, this is like some like therapy shit. Like that's deep. You talk about that in Clubhouse, which we're talking about next, by the way. So what is next for Next Theory? So one of the things that we're looking at right now, well, for 2021, we feel like we want to have more conversations, which is why we decided to have these things like this live stream, right? Or season 2. So Brent, do you want to hint at like what some of the season 2?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I think at least in one way or another, one of the biggest things is that we're also getting into video. So it's another, yeah. So video is big. Like, I mean, again, just to be honest, it's not like we're like directors or whatever. So we're just learning. And other than that, for our season 2, we've actually, I won't mention it now, but we've selected basically a theme that will tie in with all the guests. We're still finishing booking all the guests, but I can tell you guys that there's a couple big names that are very interesting, and I hope you guys can tune in, and I hope you learn something more than anything. And yeah, season 2, video, more guests. We'll probably do a panel of seasons 1 guests. So if you liked any of those guys, they'll probably come back if they have the time. And yeah, B, season 2,
yeah.
What you got?
Yeah, season 2 is just gonna take us out of our comfort zone as a team.
Once again,
like we've learned so much, and like what Christian, our colleague here, says, like we can only get better, right? And it's kind of like we always want to make sure that as a team we're growing. And sometimes, guys, we give ourselves these crazy goals. And I'm like, why do we do this to ourselves? But you know what? No, let's grow. Like we want to, we want to be able to see what else we can create at the same time. And I think that is always, that learning curve will always help us, because we become the guinea pigs. And then when we talk to clients, we're like, no, like we get it. Like we felt this. We experience all the adventures in building this. We understand how we can do it better, and it better informs us in being consultants as well, right? It's not about like, okay, this is cool, but also how we work in industry with our suppliers or our clients, how we work as a team. It's not just changing culture from a brand perspective, but in X Theory, it's really even how business is done, or how relationships are built in industry, or how teams are, right? There's so many things in our culture and in our company that we also want to bring that's different. That I think would be super exciting to share. And I love working with all the suppliers, and I don't even, I don't even look at them as suppliers. I see them already as our team, which is super cool. And even our client partners, right? Like they become our partners. We work with them, and having that relationship with everyone is super cool. So I'm looking forward to that in 2021 and showing those elements on our podcast, like showing that thought process or that culture or how we practice, how we work, bringing that honesty and sharing it with people, like us sharing the stand-up or us sharing the behind the scenes, like what really went down to break down being a creator. Sorry, I'm rambling. But anyway, you get it. So moving on next, what growth are you looking forward to in 2021, Brent, personally or as a company?
Growth. I mean, personally, as a creator, there's a lot of things that I've been sitting on that I think this is the time to really act on it. Some stuff that came organic to me, like just listening to conversations with certain people, or that app that you were talking about. There's like a strategy behind it. Like it's not as, nothing is really that organic anymore, to be honest. There's always strategy behind things. So I personally want to like try and hack in my own way and test out some of those things that I've been learning and see if I can use it to my advantage and see if it's successful or not. That's for me personally. Personally as well, like I said, I mentioned I'm engaged, so that's also something that will be on my mind constantly, and we'll have to figure out with Jana how we proceed with that with COVID still. Professionally, I just want to get more creative. Like at Next Theory, we don't have like a tagline or a slogan, but earlier in the day, what I was thinking was I want it to be, it's not these words, but I want us to do things different. Like I don't want to be a cookie cutter agency where we just do the same thing that every other agency can do for you guys. I want to think outside the box. I want to be like John. I want to be limitless. I don't want to follow what everyone else is doing. I want to create the trends. And those are big ambitions, but it's something that I think that's the culture that we're growing here at Next Theory, to think different. Actually, that's Apple's tagline, isn't it?
Apple, yeah, it is.
But
so much for us being consultants.
Yeah.
there goes that plan. Just kidding.
Yeah. So I just want to do things differently. Like I know if a certain product, or whatever goes to a certain agency, I can sort of foretell exactly how they're going to roll it out, or certain scenarios that are most likely going to happen. But I want to do different stuff, and hopefully technology will be a part of that. Well, it has to be, right? So yeah, I think technology plays a big part on what happens professionally for us, and for almost like whether it's personally or professionally. Actually, technology's taking over, right?
Seeing how brands work with technology, seeing how technology is adopted in the market, seeing what it takes for people to adopt new technology. It's just so interesting on all levels of how, even back in the day when like, even as simple as like booking cars now versus like 10 years ago where you had to just call the taxi from the street, not that you can't do that, you can, but just how things are just changing in different aspects. Or even last year, like I still had the habit of going to the bank and lining up, and then moving so many things to online banking, how things are done faster and more efficiently. I think it's just a good sign of the times, right? How I would like to grow in 2021, I think it would just be very organically, to be honest. Season 2 was an organic conversation. We still wanted to launch it when it felt right. We still marinated on the energy of, what we wanted to bring to the table. We still thought about what our intentions are. I think we were still very thoughtful about this process. And as we were thoughtful, it organically built up to something that kind of put us out of our comfort zone. And then when we got there, we're like, okay, yeah, we can do this as a team. And not just you and me, Brent, thinking, but having our whole team chip in their ideas of what they're learning. So Yanni was giving ideas, May was giving ideas, Tish, Christian, they were all like growing as creators also and adding their ideas to the mix. So it wasn't just, me and Brent, all of us, right? It was really like, okay, how do you get everyone to kind of come to the table and work together as a team? And that was so organic. And it also had a lot of growth. So I thought that was super dope the past few weeks. So yeah, that's about it, guys, for our show today. Our very first live stream, theoretically speaking. I hope you enjoyed our time, our test stream. All you 12 people watching. I love you. What's up? You said what's up, Dane. You said what's up, Patrick.
That's my cousin. Yeah, my cousin Canada.
Hi,
So we have
Dane.
our second Canadian viewer up on here.
Manuel, Rainiel, Peter. Shouts out to you guys. And if my Kumu team's still here, or if they just drop by to flood me with comments and leave, it's okay. I'll see you on Monday. I will find out if you really stayed. Lagot kayo. Just kidding. But it was just so fun to be on live stream again and talk about it, because normally I work on it behind the scenes, but just to like be live again and try this, I was like, oh, this feels different. I'm like, oh, okay, I remember this feeling. It was new. So I thought that was super, super cool. So yeah, guys, if you like this, follow us at Next Theory, at Brent Javier, at Victoria_Herrera. I want to say again, thank you to our entire production team behind this, making this little fun live stream possible. I'd like to thank Yanni, Tish, May, Christian. You guys are awesome, and I love growing with you and seeing how you guys grow as well. So yeah, Brent, any last words before we say bye?
No, I just want to say also thanks for everyone that tuned in. Again, follow us. And yeah, to our team, like you guys, we don't give you enough credit sometimes, but like we're really proud of you and thank you for believing in us and our vision. And I hope that, 2021, just we grow together and we realize everyone's vision, not just mine and Victoria's, but like what you guys have in mind too. Like speak up. Yeah, love you guys. So thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, guys. So we believe everyone's a creator. You can see that philosophy in our podcast, Theoretically Speaking. So once again, follow Theoretically Speaking on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Again, 12 episodes jam-packed with wisdom and knowledge, food for thought, soul conversations, something to really help you understand what it is to be a creator. So thank you guys for watching and have a lovely evening. Bye. I'm still here.
Theoretically speaking.
Dying.